Welcome to Talking Halos, our weekend edition. The Angels lose 2 out of 3 in Boston. Kind of the norm when they play Boston, but nonetheless, I'm here, Ciapola, with Jared Timms and negative Nate Green, who watched all of the games, suffered through them, as many of our listeners did, and unfortunately, here to spread all the depression that comes with it. I'm actually projecting. Nate, I'm sorry. I'm the one feeling depressed. You
Yeah,
have
I
there
was gonna
smile.
say
I'm projecting. I'm not feeling it at all this year.
there's
And
some good things to take away from this series.
so let's talk about that.
There's some individual things to
What?
take away from this series. I think one of the best things that you saw this series was Reed Detmers pitched really well, and
It's true.
I think that's really hard to do when you see the same lineup two times in a row, two starts in a row. Like, I mean, that's crazy that he was able to pitch well. Especially since we've kind of seen him go up and down his entire career. I know
Look
Jared
at that
doesn't believe
smile
this.
on Jared's
I know
face.
he
That
doesn't believe this.
that
This
pie
is
eating smile. All right.
But
wow.
but like
This is new.
it's awesome to see Reed Detmers. Like, you're really seeing the next step. Like, I don't want to hear any more of this. Are we buying Reed Detmers or anything like that? Like, Reed Detmers has arrived. This is a guy who is 100% a major leaguer. I don't want to hear any more of, is he a major leaguer? Should he even be in the rotation? Any of that crap. Like, this guy has arrived. He's taken that next step, and it's part of the maturity process for him, and he's done it. So I'm really proud of him there. Like, I think that's a huge thing for this series. Rendon's still swinging the bat decent. Trout's swinging it. Ward's swinging it. Like, there's still some guys in this lineup that are swinging it well. Obviously there are a lot of holes in this roster. There's probably 3 or 4 guys in this lineup that should not be in this lineup. There's probably 3 or 4 guys in this bullpen who should not be in this bullpen. Like, there's a lot of problems with this team, but like, you need certain things to happen for this team to be good in the future. And Reed Detmers being really good, it's a big thing for this rotation moving forward.
Jared,
I'm beyond proud of you, Nate, for
your mic's not working, dude.
No, he's just not saying anything. He's just
He
shocked.
was. He was talking. He was.
hear me
I
now.
saw the mouth
Yeah.
moving.
Yeah.
Is my
Yeah,
mic?
there you go.
Can you not hear me at all?
No,
Now I
you're
can hear
good.
you.
All right. Well, guess we're going with that one then. I don't know what happened. I'm not going to talk into the mic anymore. I'll talk. You guys, audio is going to be horrible here for you guys, and I'll try to get it fixed. But Nate, I am so proud of you. I know I just said that. Wow, that is unbelievable. Fans of the show, we're taking a next step, not just for Reed Detmers, but for Nate Green as well in his development to Angels baseball.
Don't
And
worry, I'll go back to the negative part in a little bit.
we'll definitely get back there at some point this year.
No, in a
Today.
minute.
In a minute.
Yeah, no, in a minute. But I just wanted to start with the good.
All we have to do is talk about Jose Suarez for you. So we'll get there in a second, I'm sure. But
Tyler Anderson.
just pulled up Baseball Savant for Reed Detmers. Biggest change is, I'd say, the slide. I mean, the everything usage. In a sense, in the secondary department, he's throwing fastball 7% more of the time. He's throwing his slider he's throwing his slider 10% less this year, and he's throwing his curveball 5% more. But the changeup he's using a lot more as well. He's using that about 10% more. And going back, we've been doing this podcast for what, 3, 4, 5 years now. Ever since the Angels drafted Reed Detmers, the big thing was, it wasn't the curveball, wasn't the big out pitch, right? It was the slider, and it was the changeup. We saw it. We've seen and we've seen the slider, be decent, be good. And then it was like, well, if he really wants to be really good, we just got to get that changeup going. That changeup's really got to get going. And I think we're really starting to see it. And I'm excited. I'm not as far along as Nate. It's still like, hang on, like, pump the brakes a little bit. He looks very good, but there are still going to be some learning curves for Reed Detmers this year.
Man, give the man his flowers. Come on.
I'm gonna give it.
Give him his flowers.
I already told Nate. He's doing good. I'm just letting you know there's gonna be some learning curves for Reed Detmers this year still, and we'll see how he handles those as well, because there's gonna be a little bit, Nate, your pitcher as well. There's gonna be a little bit of a dead arm period. There's gonna be a little bit of a this, that, or another. What happens when we pull a muscle? What happens when we get this and that? Like, how do we look after the All-Star break and things like that? So, but Reed Detmers looks very good. Tyler Anderson, I don't know if we got to talk about him yet, but Reed Detmers looks very, very good.
Yep. Yeah, and pitching on normal rest, I think, is big for Detmers. Detmers talked about it a lot, and getting to pitch on normal rest is huge for him. So
That's where
I
I was
think
going
that's
next,
another
man.
thing that is big for him.
Stole my point. Stole my flipping point, man. That's where I was going. I thought for going in this year that if there was one pitcher who would actually be helped by Shohei's leaving, it would be him. The guy who's talked about needing that normal rest and that consistency, and most of these major league pitchers need that consistency, and it doesn't come in a six-man rotation where you're trying to plan around one guy to make sure he gets his time in. So, and for the record, if we go back to last year, we saw a lot of tinkering last year with the slider as well, with the other pitches. So none of this, to me, none of this change in pitch selection is new. I mean, we're seeing different results, different selection, but he's been tinkering this for a while. The only thing is different in my view, consistency. Consistency, and that's what he's getting. And I'm wondering why on earth it's not really helping the rest of the starting pitching staff. But maybe you guys have some thoughts on that. I'm just kind of pondering, why is it Sandy is still Sandy, doing all the things he does? Why is Griffin Cannon looked very good at the end of last year? Now he's back to looking like poo. You got, you know, you mentioned it, Suarez, who can't do anything. Where are we with this pitching staff to where none of these other guys are actually falling in line yet? We only got one guy you can rely on at this point to put a consistent quality start in, and it's Reed Detmers. Jared?
Well, you're mentioning Patrick Sandoval, and for him, it's not so much the consistency; it's what's between the ears. Like for him, he just needs to have a good head on his shoulders and not let when one thing goes poorly, he can't just continue to snowball effect and let that thing turn into a huge issue, because that's his big problem. Like it has never been anything else for him except for being able to control what he can control. He tries to control things that are outside of his control, and that's why he has struggled even this year. No matter, it's not really going to matter what happens with him until somebody can get him to understand, like, you can only control what you do on the mound. You can only control hitting your spot and throwing the pitch that you want to throw. You can't control whether the umpire calls it a ball or strike. You can't control whether the hitter swings or not. You can't control whether the defense makes a play for you or not. Like all these things are outside your control. So take care of what you can take care of, and the other things will end up working out for you. That's the biggest thing with him. With Griffin Canning, Jared and I talked about this on the last show. Interesting point. They moved Canning back 2 days. He was supposed to start on Wednesday, not Jose Soriano. It was supposed to be Griffin Canning, and they moved him back all the way to Saturday, which I thought was a big thing, keeping Detmers on his normal rest and moving Canning all the way back to Saturday, which was, I believe, 8 days. His last start was Friday, and then he started Saturday against the Red Sox. I'm wondering, is he a little tender? He has a lot of issues of being hurt, whether it's the back, whether it's the arm, whether it's the shoulder, all these things that he's had in the past, and I'm wondering, is he experiencing a little bit of dead arm or a little bit of something, because it's hard to be giving guys that much time rest in the middle of, like, what, 3 weeks into the season right now. So I'm a little worried about him health wise. I think that's a big thing for him, is just staying healthy. He's not his stuff is not ace like stuff. Like we're not gonna sit up here and be like, hey, Griffin Canning's gonna go out there every day, go 7-8, give up 0-1-2. Like that's not who he is. He's a guy who's gonna go 5, maybe 6, give up 2, 3, 4 runs and keep you in a ball game. But I think for him, it's all about health. And I don't know. He could be the one guy that could get hurt with the 5-man rotation, because getting the extra rest might have been good for him.
Flip it around. Maybe him not having that 5 days rest messed him up. We don't know because the Angels don't tell us anything.
Yeah.
Test. No, it's not working
Yeah.
still.
No, you're good.
Oh,
You're
yeah,
good.
it is. It's still working.
Yeah.
Good. I wait for my little green thing to pop up here. Yeah. On that note, I was looking to see if Detmers was throwing more strikes there. He's throwing the same amount of strikes. So, yeah, I think he's just going after hitters a lot more, and I think it's
No more
actually,
sweeper.
yeah, he didn't really throw the sweeper last year, but
He did, but it's okay.
a little bit. But yeah, I mean, on the Sandoval note, between the ears for sure. Like You mentally just have to be better. And then Tyler Anderson, I think this is kind of going to be the guy that we see this year. We're going to have some good starts out of him. I don't know if he's going to, continue to throw 7 innings of shutout baseball, but I think he's going to have some good starts, and we're going to see some rough starts out of him too. And then Griffin Canning, great point. Andrew Wantz was supposed to start today in AAA.
They said he's going to start Tuesday.
I said he's going to start Tuesday. I don't know.
No, I was watching the game. They mentioned it on the game.
He's slated to start Tuesday, but we'll go ahead and see if he does or not. Normally, the way that those pitching rotations work, they won't post them until Monday or Tuesday. So the fact that they posted Wants back until Tuesday is a little bit weird to me. So wouldn't surprise me if he takes Canning's spot, if Canning's hurt or not. But yeah, I mean, Velo's down, and he's just not that guy right now. He's not, he just doesn't have the crisp stuff that we saw. Even in spring, it's not as crisp as it was. So he might have an injury there. And Angels just aren't deep enough starting pitching wise at all to handle another injury if Canning is hurt. So we'll see how it goes there on that side of stuff. I mean, Detmers looks good though. I'll take that. If you want to take positives away from the series, yeah, they lost 2 or 3, but Detmers looks really good, and I'm excited to see him continue to do what he does.
No, if you picked him on fantasy baseball, you're loving him right now. You're not dropping him again, that's for sure.
Tyler Anderson or Reed Detmers?
Oh, Detmers. Come
Oh.
on. Tyler Anderson.
You have Jose Suarez then?
Man, will you put down the crack pipe? Just put down that weird mustache you got going on. Come on. What are you doing? All right. We'll be back after word from our sponsors. All right. So we have the Tampa Bay Rays this week. A lovely road trip down to South Florida. Oh, sorry, North Florida. And the pitching matches right now, Sandy versus Eflin, Soriano versus Saval, Detmers versus Littell, Canning versus Pepio. And I mean, you're probably getting the Rays at a good time because their pitching right now is awful. But Eflin and Saval are consistent, at least right now. So how are you looking at this, Jared, as you look at this 4-game set, matchup, so on and so forth?
It's the same way that I think I feel about how the Angels Red Sox series that just happened. You're facing a team that you just faced. You're seeing 3 the same exact pitchers that you saw before, so might help your hitters out a little bit there. And on the other side, the Rays saw Sandoval and Soriano, so I thought hit decently well against Soriano. Big thing here is going to be, when does Matt Thaiss catch? We talked about it last time. I know. The big thing here, Nate, I'll bring it back up for you, is when is Matt Thaiss catching?
Thank you.
And who is he catching? Because
he can't catch someone with elite stuff.
I mean, does Sandoval have elite stuff for you? Would you trust him catching Sandoval?
I think he can just catch his game 4 of the series. Whoever pitches game 4, whether it's Griffin Canning or Andrew Wantz, that's the guy he needs to catch, because that's the easiest guy in this rotation to catch, whether it's Canning or Wantz. They're obviously Tyler Anderson as well is an easy guy to catch. Sandoval, the one thing that I would be worried about, I don't think he's got the elite stuff, but I think he needs a catcher who's going to be able to like go out there and just tell him to knock it the frick off and figure it out. Almost like the tough love catcher, because I don't know what Matt Thaiss is back there. I don't know if he's that kind of guy who's going to go out there and tell Sandoval to stop acting like a child and just throw the baseball, or if he's going to be like, hey, it's okay, buddy. Like, let's just keep working. It'll work out. It's like, I hope Logan O'Hoppe just goes out there and tells him, like, just go figure it out, bro. Like, nobody's going to help you but yourself.
Yeah.
Can he be helped? Honestly?
Yeah.
He's not 20 years old anymore, man.
I know, but this thing happens. Like, there are guys that learn and mature later. I mean, you could take this with Taylor Ward. Taylor Ward didn't become a good player until he was 28, 29 years old. Matt Thaiss didn't become a actual MLBer until last year, and Matt Thaiss is up there in age. There are guys that it just takes a little bit longer to get used to whatever it is, whether it's maturing or major league life or whatever. And everyone's maturing is different, right? Like, Ward might not have the same issue as Sandoval, but it did take Ward longer to be good.
I'm going to push back a
So
little bit, Ben. I'm going to push back a little bit because there's a difference between Taylor Ward. You didn't hear jack about Taylor Ward losing his emotions on the field. You didn't hear anything about Taylor Ward, from him anyways, being frustrated about where he was. He quietly worked. Even if he was inwardly frustrated, he didn't sit there and make a scene of himself in the playing field like Sandoval does every time things don't go his way. That's been Sandoval for the last 2
but
years
not
now.
everyone matures the same way. Like, I mean, if everyone matured the same way, everyone would have a Bobby Witt Jr. who's 22 years old and one of the best players in baseball.
I'm not saying
like,
everybody matures the same rate, dude, but at this point, he's not
No,
showing
same
any
way.
signs of growing up. All he's doing out in the field, even now, is acting like a 4-year-old when things don't go his way. He's 27 years old. At some point, you've got to grow up.
You would hope he does. And I'm not saying that maybe he just needs a different voice. Honestly, like, and when I say different voice, I'm not talking about coaching staff. I'm talking like player development people. He needs somebody else. Like, he needs to be traded to another team. That's his only way of getting help. Because being at home, being near his family, all these things, like, he needs to be traded. It will help him in his process. Um, I don't know if he'll have that same. I don't think he'll ever get to where the Angels want him to get in Anaheim.
Well, I didn't see the conversation going that way.
Yeah.
Jared, thoughts?
Man, I don't know, man. I mean, Patrick Sandoval's. We've seen him be very, very good. I can't even think of like a comparison for him, to be honest. I'm honestly like I'm kind of tired of talking about Patrick Sandoval too. Like I just like we're going to continue to talk about Patrick Sandoval like every podcast, and this is going to end up being who did we talk about last year being just horrible? It was a Sandoval last year too.
Anderson.
No, it's probably Suarez.
Anderson, Suarez. I mean, we
Yep.
do this we do this every year. So yeah, I mean, just you just kind of you expect Sandoval starts to be those 5 innings, 100 pitches, 3 runs type of thing, like probably the rest of the rotation until Reed Detmers pitches again. At the moment, and we'll kind of see where it goes. I'm gonna say during the series here for the Rays to bring it back there. Anthony Rendon hits really well off Zach Eflin. I'm worried about this pitching matchup though, or pitching matchups in general in this series, just because they seem to pitch well, and it wouldn't. I say the Angels maybe split the series, maybe lose 3 of 4. Hopefully don't get swept, but I mean you got to face Ryan Pepiot, who's a good pitcher who they haven't faced before. Ciapola usually pitches pretty well against them. Littell even pitched decently well against them last time as well. So we'll kind of see where it goes, but it comes down to the Angels hitting at the end of the day. Like can they hit enough to put the pitchers in a good spot to win? And I'm not all that confident because you have 2, 3, 4 guys in the order right now that are hitting very, very well, and then you have four hitters right now.
3.5.
Logan O'Hoppe, Anthony Rendon, Mike Trout, and Taylor Ward that are hitting very well right now, and then the rest of it is just gaps and holes that cannot hit very well. And then I want to see guys develop, so you have to this is why this year is going to be tough, and we're going to probably talk about this all year, but I want to see Zach Neto struggle, and I want to see how he does when he struggles. Same thing with Logan O'Hoppe. Like Logan O'Hoppe isn't going to do this all year. What does he look like when he struggles? Nolan Shanuel right now is struggling. What is he going to do to make adjustments to get better, besides getting hit in the nuts? So yeah, we'll kind of see how that plays out. I don't want to make jokes about that or anything, but I want to see how these young guys really, really work when they struggle, and we're kind of seeing it right now, like Zach Neto. And I'm Patrick Sandoval isn't young enough anymore to be like, wow, he's struggling and he needs to make adjustments. We're at that point with Sandoval where it's like, dude, like just I'm done with it. I don't want to talk about it anymore. So Reed Detmers, we saw him struggle. We've seen him take steps in the right direction. What happens this year when he struggles? He's pitching very, very well. What happens when he gets hit around a little bit, right? So yeah, that's what this year is going to be for me, and it's going to continue to be that year for me. Like I had very low expectations. I think they're playing better than some people had thought. This is a very tough stretch for the Angels. You play the Red Sox, who you don't play well against. You have to go play, the Rays. Then you go back to Boston to play the Red Sox, which we just saw. Rays again. You go to Cincinnati on the road. Who do you finish up with there?
Well, then you go home and you play Baltimore after
Yeah, you go
opening
home
up
and
with
play
Baltimore.
Baltimore again. So I mean, it doesn't get any easier. So this is a tough road trip, and just in general, tough stretch, 25 game stretch to really start the season off for the Angels. So I'll say they're playing better than I expected them to, especially early. That sweep definitely helped them out, but yeah, for me this year, how are these young kids going to do when they struggle? And I don't know if Patrick, full circle here, I don't know if Patrick Sandoval being on the team is really going to help that at all. I think this really hurts, because you don't want to see that. You don't want to see how some guys, I mean, even Joe Adell does it, right? Like you see Joe Adell pouting and things like that, and you don't want that. I want to see him get his opportunity and things like that. But you have to have the right mindset. You have to have, everything's got to kind of go right. And I'm very interested to see how these kids do right now.
You mentioned 2 points. I haven't had all that much of an opportunity to talk about Sandoval because you guys have manned the show more than I have. So this is my shot to say what I gotta say about it. But two, when you mentioned Adele, it's a little bit different for me with Adele because my personal belief has been the Angels screwed up his development from the start, and he's never, in my view, really gotten a fair shot. So I would understand why he would have some frustrations. Sandoval's had every opportunity, and that's where I'm kind of done with it. Like, dude, grow up at this point. You've had every shot, and you have not done it with that shot. But that said, every time he goes out on the mound, he's got a shot now. I mean, you meant if he goes down to Tampa Bay and does one of the, because it's like rolling a dice, and he's got 50-50 shot. It seems like a pitching decent, and next time out imploding. He can go out in Tampa Bay and with third lineup, and even though the lineup's kind of got some issues right now, he got a shot. Hey, and you mentioned Pepio and Littell. Both those two did not look good in their last times out.
I thought Pepio threw really well last time out.
Last start got hammered. Time before that,
2 starts
in
ago,
Colorado, looked great.
he was really good in
I don't know
Colorado.
what to think about that at all. Like he looked in Colorado like 11 strikeouts, something like some crazy number. So I just wish guy didn't get. I'm still a believer in Pepio, but is young. He's a young guy who is still figuring things out, kind of like what Detmers has been, young guy figuring it out. So, anything else you guys want to cover for this series?
I have one thing, and I know I'm gonna be being a dead horse here because I've been pissed off about this the entire time. But like, we spent so much money on the bullpen that you're going to Jose Suarez in a close game. Like, what in the frick is going on? You have a shot to beat Boston in a series. Like, you have a shot, which doesn't happen very often with the Angels. It's 3-2 going into the 6th, and you're gonna run out Jose Suarez because that's all we have left. Like, Perry, you supposedly spent all this money on bullpen. You said the bullpen is rebuilt. And I don't want to hear Stevenson isn't in the bullpen because it's not just one guy who sucks in the bullpen. Garcia has not been good this year. He's had 2 good outings. His last 2 outings have been pretty good. Cisneros hasn't been good this year. He's had 1 or 2 good outings lately, but he hasn't been good. Suarez is like, I don't even know how he's a major leaguer right now. And I know that's probably not fair to say, but like it was 88 down the middle. Like, it was not good. It looked so bad. You walk the leadoff guy, you fall behind the 2-hitter, and he hits one. And it was just like, why Jose Suarez in that situation? We supposedly spent so much money on this bullpen. We supposedly redid this bullpen, and that's the guy you're going to in a 3-2 game. I understand if Jose Suarez is in and the 5th inning and the game is 7-1, and it's like, hey, Suarez just go throw 4 innings. You'll take a couple days off and you'll come back next time the game's out of hand. But like, it's a 3-2 game, and you know that Boston started a lot of righties. Bobby Dahlbeck got a start, which I probably would have started a lefty instead of him at DH, knowing that it's probably harder for Tyler Anderson to get a lefty out than it is to get a righty out. But whatever, they had Dahlbeck start, and they pinch hit after they brought in Simber, and then all of a sudden all the lefties are still in, and Suarez can't even get a lefty out. It's like, what are we doing? If this guy can't get a lefty out, then what is he on the team for?
Well, believe it or not, right now trending on Twitter, Angels dilemma. Fans demand Suarez's exit. It's one of the trending topics.
I've been demanding that for 2.5 years.
So you're not alone. It's all over right now. And we know you have been demanding it. Hey, gonna throw it out there to you, Jared. Is there anything saving this guy?
I've given the opportunities there. I just don't think so anymore. Especially right now. I mean, you gave him the opportunity early here too, right? Like it's not like you haven't pitched him very much. You give him quite a few opportunities there. So yeah, that's a tough situation there. You never want to let go of a former top prospect by any means. He was a top 100 prospect as well, by the way, at one point. And I totally understood why, but I mean, it's just, not all guys work out, and that's kind of where we're at right now with him. So, it wouldn't surprise me if we saw some movement here going down to Tampa Bay. I mean, their next day off is before the homestand starts. So I don't know if they take that long, or you got to make
No,
some
it's right
changes.
after the homestand.
Is it right after the homestand?
Yeah, they play 4 against Tampa Bay, 3 against Cincinnati, and then they go 3 against Baltimore, and then it's the off day before Minnesota comes in.
Gotcha. There you go. So midway through, I guess you can make some changes there. But yeah, I mean, and on the Stevenson note, by the way,
he's probably having TJ, which is good for the contract.
Maybe I don't know if he's going to have Tommy John, but he was removed. I don't know. I didn't see anything other.
It was a forearm injury. He did not look too happy. He was pointing at the forearm. That's usually not a good sign for, especially when you're going to put something that's not in many contracts. Like the thing that did not get talked about with the Stevenson contract, it literally says if he is out for more than if he's out for more than 2 months with an elbow injury, the Angels can guarantee an extra year for $1.5 million or something like that, and he turns into a really cheap reliever. It's only if he gets Tommy John surgery, basically, because nobody's going to be out for 3+ months with elbow injury that's not Tommy John related. So, which is crazy that that's even in the contract. That means when you sign the contract, you thought there was a good chance that this guy was going to need Tommy John at some point during that 3-year contract, which is terrible to be thinking about. You're giving a guy a 3-year contract that you're expecting to have Tommy John. Like, this is absolutely a big miss by Perry Minasian, a huge miss with the bullpen. It has not been good. I am going to continue to blame him until something looks a lot better.
To be fair, real quick, I know, and I'm devil's advocate here.
Of course, always.
To be fair,
big GM guy.
Everybody's having Tommy John surgeries. Like it's part of it right now. I get it, but I mean, if that's included,
you put it in the contract, though.
If that's included in more contracts,
why are we giving him a 3-year deal if it's in the contract? Like, 1-year deal, throw that at the back end of the contract, sure. 2-year deal, maybe you throw that in the contract. But like, once you start getting to 3, 4, 5-year deals and you're throwing that in the contract, that's a big red flag. The Yankees didn't have that with Garrett Cole. Like, some of these big pitchers aren't getting that type of thing put in their contract. And it's like, yeah, that means there are red flags there with Stevenson. There were already red flags with his performance, and now there's red flags with his elbow, and you're going to throw that in a contract? Like, that's just not a good look. That's a big miss from Minasian, and I think so far his revamped bullpen has been a big miss, and he supposedly is the bullpen guru, and I haven't seen a good bullpen out of him yet.
I'm sticking on him. We keep pointing up at ownership than we should, but I'm sticking on him too. The hope that we had when he took over for Billy Epler. I mean, I don't. He hasn't improved the team. Maybe some of the farm system, I'll give him that, but the performance in the field is just the same, not worse. One last thing, too, I want to ask you guys before we get out of here, and that I just didn't get a chance to ask it because I was out last weekend. Seeing some criticism online, social media about Angel home attendance, showing pictures, so on and so forth. What are your thoughts on the supposedly dwindling attendance for Angels home games in relation to how people are feeling right now about Art Moreno, Angels direction, so on and so forth?
I mean, why are people going to watch a bad team? Like, at the end of the day, you also don't have Shohei Ohtani anymore. Like, that's not going to help you, and to be fair, Mike Trout's not, he's a very fun player, if you like baseball, right? Like if you go enjoy baseball, but he's not Shohei Ohtani, you know, exactly what I'm gonna use an Artie Moreno quote here. Mike Trout's not an entertainer, you know. Shohei Ohtani was an entertainer because he could do so many different things, and you expect him to hit a ball, you know. So far, it's like and this is going to be a very very bad you know comparison here, but like, you know, going and watching a high school basketball game where they're going and doing layups. Are you going to go watch a high school basketball game where they just, you know, do, you know, development stuff and things like that, and very basic, you know, like, hey, we're going to go to a bounce pass into a layup and let's go get back on defense and play good defense. You know, that's what it's like, you know. So I understand why nobody wants to go watch not fun baseball, because it's not fun baseball anymore, right? I mean, Shohei Ohtani was fun to watch, so, and you had to expect this too. So
my one thing is with the Red Sox series, it wasn't that down. Like, I mean, it wasn't as packed as it would be with Ohtani, but they were still getting good numbers with the Red Sox. The series where it was down is Tampa Bay, where Tampa Bay doesn't even get any people, right? Like Tampa Bay gets 12 to 14,000 for a game there. So like nobody goes to watch Tampa Bay, whether it's at home or on the road. So that's kind of my one thing with that. Let's see how this season finishes off. I think it won't be that much different than how it was at the end of last year. I think people still will think that going to an Angel game is fun and enjoyable for some reason. There will be people that'll be like, oh, hey, it's only $2 to go to a game. We'll get 4 tickets and go. Like 714 tickets, Tick Pick, all those places. There are times where it's like $2. I think Jared and I went to a game 2 years ago with the Mariners where it was like $1 a ticket. So I think it will still make sense for people to go to games, and like I just think it happened to be a team that nobody wants to see, and actually 2 teams that no one really wants to see.
We got to go. I have one last thought on this, and I'll kind of leave as a cliffhanger hot take for next episode, because I'm a scarred Rams fan, and I remember an owner, Georgia Frontiere, tanking that team purposely in order to eventually force a move out. I'm not saying what the Angels are doing, but I can tell you this is what it feels like. Having seen it all before, it feels that way. They would think, well, why would they move from LA? Well, the Rams moved from LA, number 2 media market in the country. Just a thought. I'm not saying anything more than that. It's just, as a fan who's seen it before in the same market, heck, in the same stadium, that's what's starting to come in my mind. So there you go. All right. We're out of here like in 2 minutes before this thing shuts down. So let's go ahead and shut down beforehand and leave that topic there to talk about later on. I'm Derek Ciapola. Follow me on Twitter at DCiapola. Follow Jared at Jared_Tims and Nate Green 34. Until next time, we're out of here.